Thanks for watching Panorama News, the program that brings you updates on the political, economic, and the sports field. I'm Dahan Hussein, and here are the main headlines for the day. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi tackles the issue of people with special needs. Egypt hosts the Libyan tribal chiefs for peace negotiations. And the Syrian Air Force targets captured Palmyra city. Welcome back. The news in full. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi met with the group responsible for establishing comprehensive care centers for people with special needs. The president highlighted the ability of the people with special needs to give and participate in the society. The presidential spokesman, Ambassador Ala Youssef, said that the president listened to the vision regarding the establishment of the comprehensive care centers for special needs people. Youssef added that the president also ordered that the care centers be fairly distributed all over the country. Prime Minister Ibrahim Mahlab met on Monday with the French President's Special Envoy and head of the Energy for Africa Institution. Attending the meeting was the Minister of Environment, Dr. Khaled Fahmy. During the meeting, the French envoy had suggested the creation of an electricity agency in Africa to carry out energy production projects. He said that France depends on Egypt's support for the project that can be put forward during the coming African summit. For his part, the Prime Minister had welcomed the suggestion and assigned the Ministry of Environment and the Ministry of Electricity to study it and prepare the Egyptian work paper. Egypt decided to open the Rafah border crossing on the 26th and the 27th of May from the Egyptian side. The border crossing will open from one direction to allow those who have been stranded by the crossing's closure to pass from Egypt to the Gaza Strip. And a conference on renewing the religious discourse convened on Monday. The conference, organized by the Ministry of Endowments, will issue a declaration on renewing the religious discourse. The document will include visions of religious scholars in addition to social, cultural, political, and media experts. The declaration will be the first issued by the Ministry of Endowments in that regard. And Cairo Criminal Court resumes on Monday the trial of ousted President Mohamed Morsi and 10 other members of the Terrorist Brotherhood organization in the espionage case. The defendants are charged with espionage and leaking national security documents to Qatar. In today's session, the court will continue to review the rest of the evidence. Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry said that Cairo will host an Egyptian-Libyan-Algerian summit next month that will focus on the situation in the region, especially Libya. The leaders of the three Arab countries are also expected to discuss counter-terrorism and illegal migration. Shoukry's statements came after his meeting with Algeria's Minister of North Africa and African Affairs, Abdel Qadir Mishal, where they discussed several issues of mutual concern. They also discussed the means of coordinating the Egyptian-Algerian efforts to support the African Union. Earlier, Shoukry met with the Algerian Prime Minister Abdel Malik Salal and the Foreign Minister Lama Mara. The Foreign Ministry spokesman Badr Abdel Ati said that the talks tackled regional issues and means of supporting efforts by the United Nations envoy to push the political process in Libya forward. Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry inaugurates on Monday the meeting for the Libyan tribes that is hosted by Egypt. 200 leaders of Libyan tribes arrived in Cairo to participate in the meeting. The meeting aims at settling down the Libyan crisis, uniting Libyan population and supporting the Libyan sovereignty and territorial integrity. It also aims at reaching a Libyan national consensus that would boost the UN-led peace negotiations that would also help in achieving stability and prosperity of Libya. The meeting is held over 3 consecutive days and attended by 350 representatives to all of the Libyan tribes. And shedding more light on the issue, we're joined over the phone by Dr. Adel Dahan, Libyan political analyst. Dr. Dahan, good afternoon to you, sir. And we know that Foreign Minister Shoukry inaugurated Monday the meeting for the Libyan tribes that is hosted by the country. Your vision regarding this important meeting, what is expected?
Hello, good afternoon. Thanks for interviewing me. Actually, what's happening, or what is everybody trying to do in Libya? They're trying to assist as much as they can and help as much as they can to bring the current and existing crisis in Libya, particularly in Benghazi and Tripoli. So their effort, one would hope, it would come to a good result. Whether will they achieve something in the short run or not, that remains to be seen. The effort which is being done by, whether it's by the Egyptian government or by other various governments, being from the Arab world or from the Western side, to ease and relieve the pressure and the tension which is happening in Libya, that's very much and highly appreciated. But as I said in the beginning of my conversation, let's hope it will come to a good result, whereby we try and sort and solve the differences.
Right. Sir, do you think that a consensus could be reached, and how far would the outcome affect the situation on the ground?
Well, look, I mean, let's take it one stage at a time, okay? What we have here at the moment, we have a representative, as you kindly said, the tribal. As far as I know, that most of the representative of the tribes are there, but some of which are missing for one reason or another.
Right. Well, more concerning the recommendations reached at the meeting, how far is it going to be implemented so far as you see it?
So,
yes.
Hello, you're cutting off.
I thank very much Dr. Adel, Dahan, political analyst, for joining us. Thank you, Dr. Adel. Well, to Yemen, where the United Nations conference designed to help forge peace in Yemen has been postponed. A UN official made the announcement 4 days before it was due to begin. There had been growing uncertainty over which of the warring Yemeni parties would attend the talks slated to begin on Thursday in Geneva, and the postponement is a further blow to the UN efforts to broker peace in a country where nearly 2,000 people have been killed since March. Details.
Syria's Air Force carried out at least 15 strikes in and around the central city of Palmyra early Monday, targeting buildings captured by Daesh extremist group. Fighters from the militant group overran the ancient city, the site of some of the world's best-preserved Roman ruins, last week. The Britain-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said that they have killed at least 217 people in the area since May 16th, including children. According to the observatory toll, this was in addition to at least 300 soldiers killed by Daesh in fighting leading up to the city's capture. It said that hardline group had detained around 600 soldiers, pro-government fighters, and those accused of being loyalists in and around the city, also a key military gain as it stands on the crossroad of the cities of Damascus and Homs. The observatory said that the Air Force carried out raids on targets including the military intelligence building and the city hospital. Daesh supporters have posted videos online which they say show fighters going from room to room in government buildings in Palmyra, searching for troops and pulling down pictures of President Bashar al-Assad and his father. They have also posted pictures claiming to show Daesh flag raised over the ancient citadel in Palmyra, which UN Cultural Agency UNESCO describes as the city of the historical crossroad between the Roman Empire, India, China, and the ancient Persia.
To Iraq, where Washington on Sunday accused Iraqi forces of lacking the will to fight Daesh that scored a resounding victory a week earlier with the capture of Ramadi. The militants had appeared on the back foot in Iraq in the recent months, but twin offensives on Ramadi and on the ancient Syrian city of Palmyra have swung momentum. On Sunday, a monitoring group reported at least 217 people were executed in and around Palmyra in the last 9 days. The loss of Ramadi, capital of Iraq's largest province of Anbar, had raised questions over the strategy adopted not only by Baghdad but also by Washington to tackle Daesh. The Pentagon chief, Ashton Carter, said that Baghdad's worst military defeat in almost a year could have been avoided. A U.S.-led coalition air war that began 2 months after Daesh seized swath of Iraq in June 2014 has led to more than 3,000 strikes. And to Syria, where the Syrian government aircraft launched at least 15 strikes in and around the ancient city of Palmyra on Monday following its fall to Daesh. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said that the raids on the city were the most intense since extremists overran it on Thursday. Details.
Heavy clashes between Yemen's dominant Houthi rebels group and local fighters shook the southern city of Taiz on Monday. In the southern city of Taiz, Houthi fighters pushed back tribal and militiamen amid heavy street combat, and Arab air raids hit a military base loyal to Houthis in the capital Sana'a on Monday. A Saudi-led coalition has been bombing the Iran-allied Houthis for months and supporting Yemen fighters opposing the group in battle lines drawn across the country. Yemen's exiled government in Saudi Arabia, led by President Abdurrabbu Mansour Hadi, has demanded the Houthis recognize its authority and withdraw from Yemen's main cities, 2 points demanded by a UN Security Council resolution last month. Those demands may have pushed back a UN-sponsored negotiations set for Geneva on May 28th. An aide to President Hadi said that the meeting has been indefinitely postponed because the Houthis did not indicate their commitment to implement the UN Security Council resolution. He added that also what's happening on the ground and attacks on Aden, Taiz and Shabwa makes it difficult to go on with the meeting, naming southern provinces that have become war zones. A spokesman for the UN said he could not confirm the reports of a delay to talks, saying that plans were still underway for negotiations to start on Thursday.
And the head of Lebanon's Hezbollah movement had urged support for his group's fight in Syria, saying it was engaged in a battle against Daesh. Hassan Nasrallah acknowledged for the first time that his powerful Shiite group was fighting across all of Syria in support of President Bashar al-Assad regime. He called specifically on his fiercest critics in Lebanon to back his intervention across the border, warning that their support for Assad's opponents would not save them from terrorists. The speech was a defense of Hezbollah's role in Syria, where it has acted as a key force multiplier for Assad regime since the uprising that began March 2011. And a Tunisian soldier opened fire on colleagues at a military base in the capital Tunis on Monday, killing a colonel, wounding 8 other soldiers before he was shot dead himself. It was not immediately clear what had triggered the shooting of the base in Tunis, but it caused alarm in the capital city, still on edge after the attack in March by gunmen on the Bardo National Museum. The local school was evacuated after the shooting had started at the base, which is not far from the Bardo area. The Tunisian forces have been carrying out operations against the militants since March, when 2 gunmen opened fire on tourists at the Bardo Museum, killing 21 foreigners in the worst attack in Tunisia in more than a decade. The United States and Turkey have agreed in principle to give air support to some forces from Syria's mainstream opposition. Turkey's foreign ministry said in what, if confirmed, could mark an expansion of the U.S. involvement in the conflict. There was no immediate comment from the U.S. officials on the assertion, though Washington has so far refrained from committing to enforcing what it called a safe zone for the Syrian rebels, as it could be seen as a declaration of war on the Syrian state. The Turkish foreign minister said that the air support would protect Syrian rebel forces who have been trained by a U.S.-led program on Turkish territory. The long-delayed scheme is meant to send 15,000 troops back to Syria to Daesh militants. The Turkish foreign minister did not go into details on what in principle meant or what kind of air power would be provided or by whom. The minister also dismissed media speculation that Turkey and Saudi Arabia had agreed on a joint operation in Syria. And to Australia. Australia on Monday appointed a counter-terrorism chief to coordinate security agencies, while pointing to the United States and Britain to justify a proposal to strip citizenship from dual nationals linked to militants. Like many countries, Australia is grappling with heightened threats from homegrown extremists, with several alleged terror plots foiled this year inspired by Daesh. As part of a billion-dollar fight against citizens becoming radicalized or returning from fighting in Syria or Iraq, a former ambassador to both Indonesia and Iran, Greg Mority, was named as the nation's first anti-terrorism coordinator. And the appointment came on the day where an inquest resumed into the Sydney cafe siege last December that shocked Australia. More than 100 Australians have fled to fight alongside militants, including Daesh, in Iraq and Syria. And the Jerusalem court had sentenced the former Prime Minister Ehud Olmert to 8 months in prison on Monday after convicting him of corruption in a March retrial. The lawyers for Olmert, who served as premier from 2006 to 2009, immediately announced that they would appeal. The 69-year-old already faces a 6-year prison sentence handed down in a separate bribery case that is currently the subject of an appeal to the Supreme Court. Olmert has always insisted on his innocence, describing allegations against him as brutal. Olmert initially been acquitted of fraud and corruption in the case, escaping in 2012 with a $19,000 fine. And Iran and the world powers would resume talks in the Austrian capital on Tuesday on drafting a final accord on the country's nuclear program. The United States, as well as Britain, China, France, Russia, and Germany, are in the midst of negotiations with Tehran to finalize a deal by June the 30th. Details.
An Iranian negotiator denied accepting military site inspections as part of a nuclear deal with the world powers, a delicate issue in the discussions that must be concluded by the summer. Abbas Araghchi reportedly made the remarks as he briefed the parliamentary committee on the progress of the talks with the P5+1, Britain, China, France, Russia, the United States plus Germany. A parliamentary spokesman said that during the briefing, Araghchi has explained that the inspection will take place in the framework of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Additional Protocol. The United States says Iran has agreed in principle to enhance inspections of its nuclear site by the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, particularly under the additional protocol that allows snap inspections. But Tehran denies any foreign access to its military facilities in order to protect national military or economic secrets. U.S. State Department spokeswoman said that the exact details of the inspection regime are still worked out. She expressed hopes for the solution that will give them and the IAEA the assurances they need with regard to access to the sites and transparency of the Iranian nuclear program. The long-running nuclear talks between Iran and the P5+1 are aimed at preventing Iran from getting the bomb in exchange for the easing of the international economic sanctions. The parties have until the 30th of June to finalize the deal.
To Pakistan, where 3 people were killed, 4 others injured when the Baluch separatists targeted a convoy carrying the Pakistani president's son in southwestern province of Balochistan. An explosive-laden motorbike parked at the roadside was blown up with a remote control device when the convoy of the president, Mamnoon Hussein's son, was passing by in Hub Industrial Zone near the border with Karachi. The president's son was unharmed as his vehicle had already passed the spot where the device exploded, hitting a rickshaw and the lost vehicle of the convoy. The rebels began their 5th insurgency against the state in 2004, with hundreds of soldiers and militants killed in the fighting since then. About 40 people were wounded on Monday when a Taliban suicide bomber detonated a truck carrying 1 ton of explosives at the gate of a government complex in southern Afghanistan. The officials said that around 1,000 kilograms of explosives were used in the attack in Qalat, the capital of Zabul province. They added that 40 people were wounded in the suicide attack on the complex that includes the provincial council building. Weather conditions, flooding from record rains in Texas and Oklahoma in the states left at least 3 people dead and destroyed hundreds of homes, with authorities warning of more wild weather to come. In the Texan city of San Marcos, the residents were ordered to evacuate their homes in the early morning as the floodwaters rose around them following the torrential rain that turned normally bone-dry streets into meandering rivers. The cars and trucks were submerged and the people used inflatable lounge chairs to float down the street. About 400 homes in the surrounding area had been destroyed, and San Marcos opened temporary shelters to host the residents who could not return home. The National Weather Service warned that strong to severe thunderstorms were expected across a large stretch of the central and southern plains towards the Mississippi River Valley.
Going off because cars were shaking and stuff. The windows were shaking in our place. All our animals were going crazy and stuff. It was pretty drastic at the time. It was pretty scary.
From the States to Japan, where a strong quake shook buildings in Tokyo on Monday, setting off alarms and temporarily bringing the city's subway system to a halt. There was no risk of a tsunami from the quake that had a magnitude of 5.3, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. Japan's meteorological agency earlier put it at 5.6. Both runways at Narita Airport, the main international gateway to Tokyo, were closed for staff to inspect for any damage. The reporters had said that the quake developed as a series of vertical bounces as well as a side-to-side shaking. The epicenter was located in the northern part of Saitama Prefecture, north of Tokyo. National broadcaster reported the effects were felt over a large area around the capital. And to Cannes Festival, the 68th Cannes Film Festival was brought to a surprising close Sunday with Jacques Audier's Sri Lankan refugee film taking the festival's top honor, the Palme d'Or. The choice, if deepened, as selected by a jury led by Ethan Cowan, left some critics even scratching heads. While the French filmmaker has drawn widespread acclaim for films as A Prophet and Rust and Bone, some critics still were disappointed by the thriller climax of the film. The jury members, though, said that Deepen was chosen for the overall strength as a film rather than any topicality.
It's a shared prize shared by Rooney Mara for Carol by Todd Haynes and by Emmanuel Berco for Marois
And in collaboration with the Ministry of Tourism, Nile TV launches a symposium Monday entitled Media Supports Tourism. The aim of the symposium is to coordinate efforts between Nile TV leadership and probe means of portraying Egypt in the coming stage. On the sidelines of the event, an exhibition is going to be held to promote the fascinating Egyptian destinations. Nile TV productions are also going to be screened portraying Egypt's treasures. Thanks for watching a recap of the stories that made headlines this Monday afternoon. My colleague Hala Hamalawi has more on the world of business and finance. Good day, Hala.
Good day, Tahir.